We are introducing Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. The AYMP is a collection of Northern Nigeria academics and professionals from different spheres of life who volunteer to offer free mentorship and equip Northern Nigeria youth at all levels with necessary knowledge on career opportunities, scholarship grants, personality building, innovation, among others.
Loud and clear. My name is Tariq Ahmed, and as always, on behalf of the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program Organizing Committee, it is my honor to welcome you to our session today. Now, as you've already seen in the advertorials, the session today is titled Crafting a Winning CV for Job and Scholarship Applications. So yes, we know, quite a lot of you are very much interested in this talk. And we've sent out a kind of inquiries, which I'll let Dr. Yakubu probably make some comments on that. But today, really, it's more or less trying to, provide you with strategies for which that you could use in order to kind of improve your CVs. Because as you know, CV is kind of the first point of contact between yourself as well as your employers. So that means it's very important to make sure that your CV stands out, because quite a lot of time, with a number of these job applications, you've got, hundreds, if not even thousands of applicants. So for you to be even given the opportunity to be called for an interview where you can then showcase and tell more about your set of skills, then definitely you have to kind of present your CV to stand out from the others. So without taking much time, really, our program, usually we have the first kind of brief introduction from myself, and then we hear usually from Dr. Yakubu Wudil, who talks about how we can get involved with the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. So today, Dr. Yakubu is our kind of main speaker today, given that he has, all the kind of skills, especially required for this particular talk. So in terms of how you join with the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program, I think we'll share the kind of links. There are a number of sessions that we've already had. I think this is the 32nd, I think, sessions that we've had. So there are tons of videos on YouTube. We highly recommend that you have a look at those. There's a WhatsApp group, there's Instagram, LinkedIn, and all that. So those links will be shared for you to kind of join. You could join either as a mentor or as a mentee. But without taking much of your time, I think today we have in our midst our special guest of honor in person of Professor Rabia Salihu Said. And maybe I'll give a brief introduction of Prof. I know quite a lot of you have already known Prof one way or the other, but just for those that are probably joining for the first time, Prof has worked as a lecturer in the physics department at Bayero University, Kano, since 1999, and she is currently a full professor of atmospheric physics at the same university. And over the years, she has supervised over 100 undergraduate research projects, over 15 master's projects, and a number of other PhD research projects to completion. She is one of the winners of Elsevier Foundation Awards for Early Career Women Scientists in the Developing World in 2015. And she was also featured in Nature, the International Weekly Journal of Science, and in the BBC radio program Discovery Science. She was also listed on the BBC 100 Inspirational Women of 2015, and she was featured as one of 100 women in tech in Nigeria on the occasion of the International Women Day 2020. Prof is very passionate about girl-child education, girls and women access to science, technology, engineering, and STEM. And she's also has a great interest in the environment as well as environmental security, including recently advocacy in nuclear non-proliferation, safety and safeguards. And she's been a mentor with the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program and our supervisor. We've really benefited from your support, Prof, over the years. So thank you very much for honoring this invitation to give us your brief remarks today. Thank you. Prof, are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, can you hear me now? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I have a very unstable network today. I don't know, it keeps on going and coming. I want to welcome everyone into today's session, which is a very important one. And without preempting the speaker that is going to talk about how to craft your CV, I just want to say that there's no one size fits all for CVs. And CV is not fixed. It's very dynamic. You keep adding to it and sometimes even subtracting from it because there may be reasons where you cannot you need to remove something which is not relevant to whatever you are applying. So these I know are part of all the things that you will hear today. And like I always say, keep a note and jot down all that you hear, because sometimes you will think that you will remember, and then you find that you might not. Even though we record this and recording, you may not have the recording at your fingertips, but when you take those small notes, you can always have it at your fingertips to check on, especially when you need to do a CV for a particular, you look at what are the requirements. And one of the hardest, I know the speaker will also mention that, is tailoring a CV, tailoring a CV to a particular length, because sometimes they want a one-page CV, and then sometimes they want a 3-page. So depending on, and sometimes when you have worked, like for me, we have worked for more than 20 years in academia, and we've done a lot, you will find that the CV is so bulky, and it's sometimes so difficult to say, okay, which one should I put in and which one should I take out? And I'm hoping that the speaker would maybe touch on that as well, or it might be something that we can look at during the discussion. It's one of the most difficult for me. That's one of the things that I've found very difficult, to tailor it to a very small page. But at the beginning of a career, sometimes you have very little. Like I helped my daughter to do a CV, and then we did it in this column. The template was the one that has a column and separate. So at the end of the day, it came to like just 2 pages. And she was saying that it's so small. Well, how do we make it to become longer than that? And I just said, wait, this is the beginning of your career. And there will be a time when you will have it so long and you have to find a way to shorten it. So all of that, please do listen and listen to what will be said today attentively, and make use of it. And so I will stop there so to give us more time to listen to the speaker. Thank you.
Dr. Tariq, you are muted. Okay.
Yeah, okay, that works now. Thank you. Right, thank you very much, Prof. Yes, I think, as you've rightly mentioned, we will all learn from the talk today. CV always, I think, you're looking at how do you improve what you have, and I'm very positive that from the talk today, we'll all benefit from that. Thank you very much, Prof, for the suggestions that you've given us. Now, without taking any time, I think today, because definitely I know there's going to be quite a lot of questions at the end of the session. So we'll just dive into our talk today. And as you know, Dr. Yakubu would be given the talk today, and Dr. Yakubu, we all know him. It's the kind of coordinator for AYNP, and he's been kind of organizing all these events that we've been having over the time. So maybe just a brief introduction for Dr. Yakubu. He is a research fellow with the Research and Innovation Center and Physics Department at King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals in Saudi Arabia. And he holds a PhD in physics from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, where his doctoral research focused on renewable energy harvesting and application of artificial intelligence in material science. His commitment to advancing the field is reflected in his multiple publication records in reputable international journals and several patents. And before his PhD, he earned an MSc from the same university with a distinction and a bachelor's in physics from Bayero University, Kano. And there he received the Vice Chancellor's Prize for the overall best graduating student at the university. Dr. Yakubu is a member of several professional bodies. His dedication to academia, or rather academic excellence, has been recognized through scholarships and awards, including those from the university where he's currently working at, which is King Fahd, the federal government merit scholarship, and the prestigious PhD scholarships from a number of universities such as the University of Florida, University of Connecticut, the University of Tennessee, and the University of Notre Dame in the United States. Now, beyond his academic pursuits, he's passionate about community development and mentoring the next generation. You all know he is the coordinator of AYMP, and which has been an initiative really that has positively touched the lives of many people across the country. So thank you very much, Dr. Again for your talk. I'm sure you're going to really benefit from this talk. So I'll pass on the virtual mic to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq. I hope you can all hear me, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much for this introduction. And I would like to, first of all, thank you, especially the AYMP organizing committee and our participants for joining us at this moment on this very important topic. So before we dive into the subject, I would like to share a very quick poll just to know our demography. So please, you will see a poll. It will pop up on your screen. Just click the correct answer as it applies to you. So I will share the poll now. We have just 3 questions so that we know the type of the audience we have. Okay, it's starting. So please select the right answer for all the 3 questions you have on your screen in 30 seconds. Good. So it's interesting and good. Interesting. So we have almost 200 participants have responded. I think it's enough to take the average. Okay. So this is the result. You can all see. So it means the dominant participants, they are graduates, and then followed by those with MSc, and most of the participants here, they are looking for scholarships, and then a few are looking for a job, while we have a very small percentage that do not fall into either of the category. And we also ask about whether you have experience with AI chatbot like ChatGPT, and 71% have used it before, and around 29% have not used it before, which I think it's also commendable. So taking note of this demography, let me share my slides, and I will tailor my presentation to that. Okay, I will share my screen. I hope you can all see it. Okay, good. Dr. Tariq, my screen is visible?
Yes, it is. We can clearly see.
Okay, okay. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una, yanfa'una bima alimna. Today, inshallah, we'll talk about this topic of crafting a winning CV. for job and scholarship applications. And at the end of the session, basically what I plan to do is to introduce us to the topic, like Prof said, and Dr. Tariq as well. For CV, really, there is no one size fits all. So whatever we will say here, it's like just exposing you to the technical aspects of it, maybe some common errors, maybe some of the common mistakes, the do's and don'ts of the CV, so that you will tailor your own accordingly. So the importance of this subject cannot be overemphasized, as Dr. Tariq mentioned, because it is basically the interface between you and those people screening your documents. Either you are applying for a job or you are applying for a scholarship. So it's very important you pay all the necessary attention to make sure that you prepare it well. So this is what I plan to discuss with us. I will first of all go through the key sections of the CV so that you should know what and what section, how are you supposed to structure your CV. And then, like Prof mentioned, we will talk about the aspect of tailoring, how you tailor your CV to particular either job or scholarship. Because if you're applying to, maybe you're applying for 5, 6, 7 different jobs, you should bear in mind that each of these jobs require a separate CV. That's mostly where many people make mistake. You just prepare a single CV and you send it to all the employers. It doesn't work that way. So that's the aspects of tailoring, and we will talk about that in detail. We will also talk about some of the tips and best practices that you should know. We'll also talk about CV versus resume. Mostly people used to confuse the two, but they are a bit different. And also we will talk about the use of AI. That's why I asked you the last question about ChatGPT or Bing and the rest. So you need to have some experience with that. It will help you to improve or modify your CV. And also I have taken 2 case studies. One is a student, physics student looking for scholarship. He graduated from university, bachelor's degree, and he is going for MSc. So he's looking for scholarship, while the other one is a graduate of computer science, and I think it's a lady. She's applying to company to work as a software engineer. So these 2 case studies, I have the sample CV for you, and we will share them at the end of the presentation, perhaps in our Telegram page. Okay. So what are the key sections of a good CV? Like I said, basically we will talk about the basics here. So you will find that whether you are looking for a job or you are applying for scholarship, at least these are some of the basic sections that you need to include in your CV. First of all, you need to include your personal information. The personal information here, you don't need to give too much detail about yourself. Basically, you include your full name, your phone number, so that if they want to contact you, they will have a means of reaching out to you. Your email address, your LinkedIn profile is very important. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, try to get one today, and also GitHub link. But that one is mainly for those in the area of software development, data science, computer scientists, and computer engineers. But at least try to have a very good LinkedIn profile. Try to update your profile and make sure that it contains all the necessary information, because sometimes, especially nowadays, recruiters will not even check your CV. They will just ask you to put the link to your LinkedIn profile, and they will just go through it. So you are always expected to ensure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date. Next one is you ensure that your email address looks professional. This is very important, actually. Most of us usually you put like Yakubu or ys.wudil@yahoo.com. That's fine, but sometimes you'll find some funny names, you know. So try to make sure that the name of your email address is professional. Next is professional summary. So this one also, like Prof said, most of the times it's required, but sometimes when you reach like advanced level of your career, you don't even have to include your professional summary. You'll just include the bullets of your education and work experience and the rest, and perhaps we will see that in the example that I will share with you. So professional summary, basically you just mention like in 3 or 4 lines, who are you and what are you looking for and what are you bringing to the table? So these 3 things: who are you, what are you bringing to the table, what are you looking for? So you just try to summarize these things. This one also we will see when we come to the case studies. Also your education. I assumed that, like I said in the presentation, I assume I am presenting it to mostly people who have graduated, like just this year or last year, they have bachelor's degree. So you will see that most of the examples that I will be given will be tailored towards that. But for those, like if you have master's degree, fine, you will just add a line above it, and it will also capture your experience. So if you attend university, you attend college, you attend SSCE, you know, all these things, you will put them in chronological order. What we mean by chronological order is the latest one comes first. So you are a graduate, that your university will come first. Then perhaps you did a diploma or something like that, then it comes second, and so on. And also you put your work experience. Work experience, basically, as a fresh graduate, you will find that perhaps you can say you have never worked, but there are things that you do, you know, they also count as work experience. Maybe you worked as an intern, you know, for internship in one of companies, it counts. And also perhaps you work during your SIWES, Student Industrial Work Experience Scheme. That one also, it counts, you know. Even in your project, perhaps if you do something in one, even during NYSC, most of students are posted to either schools or industries or companies. So that one also counts. So you can take it into account. I have cited that in the example that we are going to see. Then the skills. So what skill do you have, you know? Basically, when you are applying, let's say for scholarship, so it means you are expected to show research skills, right? You need to show that you have experience. Maybe you need to express your experience in writing, in maybe computational studies, in conducting experiments, you know, in writing reports, in publications, in projects, all these things. You need to include them. These are the skills you are required to mention. If you know how to use a certain maybe software, you put them. So we'll see that one also. And some of the projects, if you have led a project that has reached a successful ending, you can also include it. We'll also see some examples there. And then some certifications. So you may have some certifications, like maybe you took a course online, you include that. Maybe you took some professional course related to your course. If it is engineering, you take some certificate in engineering. If it is computer science, maybe you take some course in machine learning. Maybe, you know, you take some course in perhaps data science. So you can all include that. Next is community development and leadership. Community development is very important, you know, leadership skills. So you need to show clearly, especially if you are applying for opportunities outside Nigeria. They take it, you know, as very, very important to show that you are doing something for the benefit of your community. What are you doing exactly to advance the cause of those like that are less privileged in terms of their education, in terms of their well-being? What are you doing? What have you led? What project have you led? By the way, you can include your participation like in this mentorship program as one of your community development service. How? If you volunteer, let's say you are a member in this organization and you volunteer that, okay, I will be active member. I will not just be an ordinary member of the organization. I will be helping you maybe with organizing the programs. I will be helping you with CV modifications. I will be helping you with data collection. I will be helping those students that are before me. I will be helping them with their applications and all these things. So you can decide to be active member of this organization, and that will also help you as your leadership quality. Then achievements, awards and honors. So if you have any award, like you have won any trophy, you are the best student in your class during your secondary school, university, it doesn't even have to be in the university, even in your primary school, if there's any achievements, or maybe like the association of the people in your locality have honored you because you are serving their cause, all these things, you can just try as much as possible to tailor them such that they will be beneficial to you. This is in general, I've spoken, but for those in the academia, you can also include your research publications, if you have any. Mostly those that have graduated from university, like fresh graduates, you'll find that they have maybe 0 publications, but it doesn't matter. You can include your even undergraduate project, even your term papers, all these things, you can include them. And also project grants. This one, I don't think those are fresh graduates will have, but maybe if you have a master's degree, perhaps you are working in one of either research centers or research institutes in our universities, and you are looking to go for PhD, then this will be very important for you. And some patents, of course, if you have, you include them. So this is a summary of how the CV should be structured, the headings, what the CV should contain. So next is the structuring of your CV. While you are designing your CV, what should you pay attention to? So I say you should use a clear and concise format. What I mean by concise is there could be too much details, that you feel maybe if I add this, it will help me, but it may really not, Go direct to the point, put only those things that are highly relevant, to the opportunity, either job or scholarship that you are applying, Go direct to the point and be clear in the statement. Don't put anything like that will be of ambiguity. Now, keep the CV well organized and easy to read, make it very simple. Don't really put too much salt or sugar to it. Just let it be very simple. Clean, professional font, and maintain consistency. Yeah. So if you are using Times New Roman throughout your CV, make sure it's throughout Times New Roman. If you are using Arial font, make sure you are using Arial throughout. And any other font that you feel you need, make sure that you are consistent in the formatting. And even the font size, if you are using font 16 as the headings, make sure all the headings you are using font 16. While the content, the sub-content of the CV, under the headings, if you are using 12 or 13 or 11, make sure you are using consistent formatting. And like I already mentioned, you should prioritize relevant information, and you should use bullet points. So if you said, I have worked in NITDA, so what have you done in NITDA? So you should use bullet points, 1, I organize their database. 2, I train their students, 3, I developed software that is doing this and that and that, So make sure you are using bullet points similar to the one that I will share with you at the end of the the presentation. Also, you should maintain a professional tone. Of course, I stressed on that. And also, you should focus on responsibilities and accomplishments relevant to the job or scholarship you are applying. This let me stress a bit because it's very, very important. For instance, if you are applying, let's say, to a scholarship, maybe a professor put an advert and he said he needs someone who knows how to use Mathematica software, or maybe who knows how to use Python, because he's employing you to come and run some simulations for him. And maybe you have some experimental background, and also you have knowledge in AI, you have knowledge in these softwares, you know. So when you come to format your CV, when you come to modify your CV, do not stress more, you know, on the experimental experience, even though you have those experience, and of course they are good, they may help you, but in that particular situation may not help you, because when you stress too much on that, and maybe even if you stress on the other side the experience he needs, he will feel like you are not the best fit for his position. So you should try as much as possible to expose only those qualities that are relevant to the opportunity you are looking for. And then next is you highlight both technical and soft skills, of course. So we all know, like if you have some technical skills include how to use maybe the device, you know, how to operate certain softwares and all that. Try to, you know, express that. The soft skills, you are very good in teamwork, you know, you are highly organized person. All those social skills also try to include them. And then finally, make sure you read the CV thoroughly before you submit or you finalize it. Sometimes we may feel we have done a good job in designing our CV, you know, but you'll find that there's 1 or 2 grammatical errors. And those errors sometimes can be grave, because I tell you, one of my friends recently was telling me, like, one of the feedback he got during his interview was they said in some of his pages, like there was no page numbering, you know. So you could imagine, like, just page numbering, but those people, they are looking at it. So you should be careful. Talk less of like grammatical errors, talk less of typo in some essential sections of the CV. So try to make sure that you proofread your CV very well, and maybe you give it to someone, because most of the times when we read something ourselves that we prepared, hardly we see some of the like minor errors. But if someone takes a look at it, he will easily point at the error. So try to give maybe someone, a friend, a colleague, to check and make sure there is no error. So whenever possible, use numbers. Okay, for instance, if you are applying for maybe a job, instead of saying like you have improved the performance of, you know, sales, or you increase the sales in a particular company, you did that, you know. So try to use numbers, you know. People always like numbers. They like statistics. You mentioned clearly, I increased the sales of a particular company by 10%, by 15%, by 20%. So try to mention exactly, try to quantify your achievements, you know. Even if you are applying for maybe a job, for scholarship, I mean, you mentioned like you are part of maybe 5% of your class. No, you are among the top 2%, maybe, or maybe top 1%, things like that. Try to mention a number clearly that gives this distinction. It's very important. People always like statistics. Now, tailoring your CV. Now, this is very important, and I think we should pay utmost attention, even, you know, when you come to prepare your CV. You need to know what is called applicant tracking system. It's a software generally used by recruitment companies when you send your CV, often you'll find that it's not human being that will first scan through the CV. So it's machine, actually. Immediately when you upload it online, machine will check the CV. It will scan through it. It will be looking for some keywords that are relevant to that industry you are applying. That's if you are applying for a job. If those keywords, or maybe they have some pool of keywords like 20 or 30, let's say, then they will set the machine. If these keywords you find less than maybe 15 or less than 30, just reject this applicant. So you need to know, if I'm applying for a software engineer, what keywords are required in that particular industry. If I'm applying as a researcher, in a company, what keywords that particular company, if it's a logistic company, what do they need? If it's a production manufacturing company, what do they need? If it is consultancy or maybe civil engineering company, what do they need? So you need to know exactly what are the keywords that are relevant to the particular industry you are applying. And this is where AI will help you. That's why I ask you to know how to use the ChatGPT. You should not just use AI to prepare your CV or ask AI like for keywords that are, no, you have to use, of course, your common sense. But sometimes when you use AI, it will kind of prompt you. It will lead you to something that you have never thought before. But then when you see it, you can use your common sense to complete the process. So you have to know what is this ATS. You have to know the strategic keywords that you need in your industry. And then you have to know how to integrate those words into your CV, so that it can help you in the application. So first of all, if you see a job advert, for instance, like they are looking for someone who has this particular experience, So the first thing you should think of is you look at yourself, you look at your CV, then you look at the advert, and then you see, how can I match my CV to this particular advert? They mention like someone has to be a team player. That's one of the requirements. Maybe you have not mentioned that in your CV. Then you have to know how to include that you are a team player. That is one. They mentioned that they need someone maybe who can supervise a team of 20 staff, members of staff. You think of how can you incorporate in your CV that you have led before an organization, or a team, even if it's like in an NGO work or any other, like now, if I can say I lead a team maybe of hundreds of people or maybe thousands of people in doing this and that. So it's kind of a skill that I will be able to extend. So you should be able to develop these things, Try to match the skill that is required, the skill that is mentioned on the job advert, and include it in your CV without really mentioning something that you don't have. All the things, you should first of all look at them, and then you look at how you can fit. You are not supposed to include something that you don't have, but even those ones that you have, you have to be a little bit clever in incorporating them into your CV. And then also you highlight, of course, the relevant experience. And I mentioned earlier that you should ensure that your LinkedIn profile is up to date and aligns with the information on your CV. So if you have any experience in mentorship, like I said, or you have any experience in collaboration, research collaboration, and this is very important, this collaboration role. I would like to stress on that. Look, in collaboration, there are many things. You cannot collaborate with others if you are not a good team player. That's one. Number two, you cannot, collaborate with others, or maybe you cannot be successful if you are to work alone. Whatever you are doing, if you say you will do it alone, so you may not really reach the apex of it. You can just do your best and you'll leave it. So whatever you will do, try to have that social skill of, being able to work with others. It tests your patience, it tests all your social skills, in fact. So you have to be able to work with others, especially we in the North, really. We need to stop, working in silos. We need to be able to work within ourselves. Even if it's a business you want to start, you have to know that you cannot do it alone. Maybe someone will help you with the capital. Maybe someone will help you with the knowledge. Someone will help you with the connection. One person will help you with the real handwork. So you need to involve all the relevant personalities that will be able to help you. So next is the do's and don'ts. Some points that also I would like us to note. So this is like a summary of what I just presented. You should use quantifiable achievements where possible. You should include relevant keywords, put it in mind. You should highlight your skills. You should keep your CV concise, like I said. You should make sure you check if there's any error, in the CV. You use a clean and professional design. So this issue of design is also very important. There are hundreds of design you will find. If you check just online, you'll find hundreds of CV design. So it all depends on where you are applying and your own personality. But I always prefer to use some simple design that is also professional, So like I'm not a fan of putting colors, red, blue, magenta, So I will show you the sample I have for you. Then, like I said, use headings, use bullets, and that. Now, things that you should avoid. One, you should not use a single CV for all your applications. This, I said, is very, very important. So please take note of this wherever you are applying. And still, this I am not considering the fact that, like, if you're applying for scholarships maybe to 10 universities and you have a particular CV, of course, that can be a bit useful in almost all the applications. So I'm not saying for each university you have to come and redesign the CV. No. If the positions you are applying, maybe they are similar, then of course there will be similarity in the CV you are preparing. But the CV you used in applying for scholarship, master's scholarship in a university, maybe in the United States, will be different from the CV that you will use, in applying for a job in the United Nations, So these things, you should know them very well. Also, you should include you should not include irrelevant content, Like sometimes we feel when I include this particular thing, it's a good thing, of course, but it may not really help, Just as an example, I think I saw someone when he was applying for a scholarship, he mentioned in his application that and in his country, he is a member of a particular religious sect. So he is feeling that will help him because he's applying to a country that he feels is religious, So that really is not really required. You don't have to include all those things. So again, the date of birth. The date of birth also, except if it is explicitly required, you don't have to include your date of birth because you may be, they will say, okay, by just looking at your date of birth, they'll say, no, he is 40 already, he is 45, he is 50. He's like, he cannot really do this job, So it may be to your disadvantage. So if they really need it in the application, there will be some line that they will indicate that you should include your date of birth. Then your gender, either male or female. That one also you don't have to. If they need it, they will include it. They will ask for it. And the marital status and the family size. Some employers, maybe they will say he is married, maybe he has 5-6 children, so he is overwhelmed by his family affairs. He may not really concentrate when we give him this job, or he may not really concentrate when if we employ him in this for this role. So really, we don't need this candidate. So you see, but if it is really needed, they will ask for it in the application portal. So you don't have to include it in your CV. I know of a job particularly recently that I saw. They mentioned that you need, you do not, if you have maximum of 2 children, that's what they can accommodate. If you have more than that, you should not apply. So it means at some points, these things can be like a disadvantage in your application. So you just try to play smartly. And also your photo, you don't have to include your picture on your CV, you know, though this is contestable, some people may argue, but in putting your photo, you know, some people can just look at your face and feel they don't like you. And we are all human beings, it's normal. By just looking at you, someone, you know, will stereotype and say, this guy may not really do well. So it's better we just, you know, because you know how this world, how it works. The nationality, from which country, like what's your country of nationality, except if it is explicitly required. And also political and religious affiliations, you should never include them in your CV. Perhaps if you are applying to be like a chief imam of your mosque, you can include that one, but of course not for any scholarship or job application. So here is the summary of the difference between a CV and a resume. You know, for someone who is just starting their career, like, you know, they're almost similar typically, because even if you are writing a resume, it's just 1 to 2 pages, and also the CV will not be longer than that. I strongly recommend that for someone with just a first degree applying for masters, their CV should not be more than 2 pages. It's very important because there are hundreds or thousands even of applicants. And those people, sometimes they may get overwhelmed with the work and they may not really go to the detail of your CV. So try to present them something, you know, that's highly relevant or even most relevant. The content, you know, comprehensive. For CV is a comprehensive. So, but for someone maybe who is not at the beginning of their career, maybe it's like a professor, you know, like a prof said, sometimes you will find that their CV, because of the list of publications, conferences, positions held, you know, experiences, you will find that they have 30, 40 pages of CV, you know. But for people like us, maybe 1 or 2 pages, especially if you're applying for masters, 1 or 2 pages is enough. So the difference here is CV is very long, while resume is focused only on those particular things that are required. And the resumes generally are being used by industry. If you're applying to an industry or like an NGO, or you are, you know, private organizations, they don't really need to see that very long CV. So you just write a resume. A resume typically constitute like a summary of who you are, 3, 4, 5 lines maybe, and then your education and your work experience, summarized form of it. That's the resume. So the purpose of CV is generally for academic and research purposes, while resume is for corporate, business, and other fields. So this is actually the difference between the two. CV is a bit more flexible, while resume, like, it has a standard format. So this is a typical difference. Now, I told you earlier that you can consider using AI, especially the ChatGPT or Bing or, you know, the Google bot, to refine your CV. I'm glad around 70% have responded that they use ChatGPT before. So if you know that, briefly how you will do that, here are some prompts that I mentioned. But when you open a fresh chat with it, mention clearly, like, okay, I am a graduate of physics. You mentioned like that, like I'm saying, my undergraduate research focused on development of solar cells, you know, for renewable energy application. I am applying for scholarship at the University of Florida. I'm applying for MSc scholarship. You know, you have to introduce yourself to ChatGPT first. It needs to know, the chatbot needs to know who you are. When you mention that in 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, then you put any of these prompts, like one, you know, identify or maybe suggest some of the basic sections that my CV should contain. It will give you, you know, if you already have the CV, you can say, okay, refine the language in this section. For instance, you just copy a particular section of the CV and put it there and ask ChatGPT to refine it. There is a warning here that you should be careful. Not everything that you get from ChatGPT you should just copy and put in your CV. You have to go through it and you have to approve it by yourself. You know, because sometimes it really is not the best thing to use, but it's very important. It will really help you. You can also it can also help you with the formatting, how you will organize the CV so that it will be appealing to those screening the applications. Now, for those applying for jobs, for instance, you can use this prompt number 3, like identify like specific skills required by Google, for instance, or specific skills required by Microsoft if you're applying there, or specific skills required by, let's say you're applying to NNPC, you know, or you're applying to NITDA for work. Just mention the specific skills that they will need. So it will mention that. So these are just some of the 5 prompts that I just added to the slides. And of course, you can think of many others by yourself. And like I said, this is just, we are guiding you, or you are exposing you to how you will be able to use these tools. But it's up to you to be more creative, to even add many other things. You know, it is not like exhaustive list that we are given. Rather, we are simply showing you the path so that you will explore and add more to it. So now we will check the case studies, the 2 CVs I prepared, like just for you to have as a guide, so that when you come to your application, at least it will help you. Now, when we check these CVs, what I want you to do, you use them, for instance. You can, of course, use other formats. It doesn't have to be exactly these ones, but these are just an example. And when you do that, then you prepare your own from using all the information that we've mentioned in this presentation and the samples that I'm going to display now. When you prepare your own, you know, find someone, a friend, maybe. Of course, since the number is huge, we may not really be able to check for everybody. But like I said earlier, we will try to check maybe for a few. So I will drop a link also after I shared these samples with you. So I will drop a link. And I remembered, I promised that those who attended the presentation will get the link. So I will put the link now. You will send your CV through the link. And inshallah, I think the first maybe 100, we will try to see how we can check. But if you will use the information really that was provided in this presentation and you use the sample, the guide, you don't have problem with even, you don't have to send us even the CV. So now I will share these samples. And of course, later we will share the slides. Later we will share the slides in the Arewa Mentorship Telegram page, so you can be able to get them and the samples. So now I will share the sample of the CV. Yeah, so it's visible, right?
Yes, it's just came up, yeah.
Okay, fine. So this is a sample you can see here. You put your full name, for instance, here. You put your address, you put your phone number and your email. Then a brief summary about yourself. This one is for someone who is applying for scholarship, like I mentioned. So he is, you could see what he put, a highly motivated physics graduate with an interest in advancing energy solution and all that. So this is not something fixed. Everybody should have his own peculiar to his experience. If you are a chemistry graduate, if you are an economics graduate, if you are an English language graduate, you know how to use these 3-4 lines to summarize yourself. But the most important section here, you can see, is the education. You know, he's a graduate of Bahrain University, Kano, you can see. And he put what he got from BUK, BSc Physics. Then he put the dates from September 20, maybe 10, 11, 12, XX. That's what it means, 2020, 2021, and all that. Then the class of degree. You can put if it is 2-1 upper second class, if it is lower second class, you know. This one here, I would like to stress something. You see, if you are a first class graduate, putting the class of degree will help you, right? Because maybe when someone is going through the CV, when he sees first class, it may catch their attention. So, but if you feel like the class of degree may not help you in the application, so you don't have to state it here explicitly. But if you feel it will help you, you can even add your CGPA, right? Let's say 4.5 out of 5, no, 3.7 out of 4, things like that. Then you put, this is the secondary school, and all the schools he attended, he put them and the dates. This is the education. And that's what we mean by chronological order. When we say you should start from the highest, the university first, the secondary school, and all that. Look, in some of the applications even, they will not even ask for like secondary school, primary school, and all that. They will only ask you from your first degree. So you should be like aware of what you are applying for. If you have a master's degree, the master's degree should come first before the BSc column. Next is the work experience. You have worked since you are applying for a scholarship, and now you are already a graduate assistant, let's say working in one of the Nigerian universities here as an example. You see, you put that you are a graduate assistant, and you are working as graduate assistant in the university, and these are the responsibilities that you have been running in the university. Like you assisted faculty members with this. You see, this is what we call bullets. 1, 2, 3, 4. You mentioned in summary what you have been doing. The reason why this is very important for scholarship application is that usually when you apply for scholarships, especially in the United States and other countries as well, they will ask you to teach when you get there, you know, as a teaching assistant. So they want to see, apart from your academic credentials, apart from your results, your research experience, do you have some teaching experience? If you have some teaching experience, then it will be useful also. It will assist you so that they know that if they offer you the scholarship, you will be able to study, you will be able to conduct the research, and at the same time, you will be able to teach, you will be able to handle the responsibility that they will shoulder on you from the university. This is one. The second, this student, you can see, has some experience with one company, Olvac Renewable Energy Solutions in Nigeria. That's where he did his NYSC. And what were his responsibilities? One, he supervised installation of solar panels, coordinated the content of the organization's website. So there are things here I want you to look at. This guy is a physics graduate. He has experience like in solar cells development, renewable energy. So he's now looking for masters in maybe physics, material science, just masters, like he wants to continue with his education on renewable energy. So all the experience you can see here, he's mentioning. He has teaching experience, which is relevant to university. And even in his NYSC, he worked in a company that is related to the renewable energy. So you can see how, what we mean by tailoring, how he is trying to include all the experiences, you know, that he has and are relevant to the position he is applying. This guy may have many other experiences. Maybe he worked elsewhere, you know, in one of the logistics company, but that may not be relevant to this position he's applying. So he didn't include it. So that's how you should be doing things. You should think of what you know, what you have, and it's relevant to what you are applying and include them. Those things that are not related, you count them out. It's very important. Then research interests. These are like the areas that this guy has some interest. Of course, renewable energy, you could see, material science, condensed matter physics. These are some technical strengths that he has. He knows this programming language, Python, Fortran, and BASIC. And also he mentions that he knows Windows, Office, LaTeX, MATLAB, and Mathematica. So you could see, like, apart from the research experience, he also has these soft skills, which are highly needed, of course, in this side of the world. You'll need them for programming language, Python, Fortran. You'll need them in some of your work, of course, regardless of the course you are studying: physics, chemistry, biology, economics, English, medicine. It doesn't matter. Now, you also mentioned your academic achievements. So you could see now this CV, like as a template, is for a particular person, but you can always tailor it to yourself, He mentions these programming languages that he knows. Maybe when it comes to you, you know Java, but he doesn't know Java, so you can simply remove the ones you know and put the one you know. So just that's how you should do it. There's also academic achievements, that's the awards, the honors that you have. So he was awarded the best graduating student in physics. He received some scholarships. He received some Chevron merit scholarship during his undergraduate student. That also helped. It helps really, so you should count it. Also, he received award from the National Students Association, So all these things, if you have others that are relevant, you should include them. These are extracurricular activities. He is a good volleyball player, badminton, soccer. He plays them. These are some of the certificates that he had, certifications. He has certificate in information technology and all this, In terms of community service, this guy is like, he developed or he founded this Skill Hub. Skills Hub is like an organization, an initiative. He's providing the Nigerian youth with ICT skills. So he's the founder. And then he put the website of the organization in case anyone wants to check and see what they are doing. And maybe this guy also, again, is a volunteer at the Arewa Mentorship Program. You could see, volunteer at Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. Then he mentioned what AYMP is, a nonprofit organization constituting intellectuals, supporting youth education and personal development in Nigeria. Then he put the website of the Arewa Mentorship. So, this is like it's type of the community service, especially the mentorship part that people want to see. And these are some of the like research projects that he had during his undergraduate. Maybe he ran a project on dye-sensitized solar cells. So you could see still the CV is like, it's coherent. The next paragraph is in agreement with the previous paragraph. The previous paragraph is in agreement with subsequent ones. So that's how things should work. So this is well tailored to this particular course. So if this guy is applying for PhD, he has masters, of course, we expect that the research experience should be more. Maybe he has published 1 or 2 papers during his masters, so he will include them. Maybe he has 1 or 2 patents, he can include them, in his experience, also work experience here. Maybe during his masters, he taught 1 or 2 courses in the university that he had the masters from. He will include them. That, okay, he was a teaching assistant, he conducted laboratory session, maybe he taught physics 101, 102, all these things. So so these sections will be a little bit broader, and even his education, of course, there will be an MS at the top. So if this guy now has a PhD, he's applying maybe for postdoctoral position, so it will be more. So you could see how your CV is advancing as you grow, as you grow in your career, as you reach the apex of your career, your CV will be expanding. So this is basically the summary of this particular CV for scholarship. Now, what of the CV for job? I have a similar one also. Let me just share it for a moment. Okay. Okay, now, this is the one for job. You could see now this is a computer science graduate. Is it he or she? Is applying to Google as a software developer. Is developing software. So this guy is a graduate of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, BSc Computer Science, and he graduated with the upper second class. The CGPA is 3.85 out of 5. You could see the example I cited earlier. So I will not now go into the details like I did before, since you know now what is the chronological requirement, the sections that are required. But the most important thing I will highlight in this one is in this particular CV, you will notice that there is what we call internship/work experience, right? Because he's applying for a software developer, so it's something that requires hard and soft skills. So he needs to showcase like his skill more than the previous guy who was just applying for scholarship to university. So you see, he has to mention like currently he's an IT officer at NITDA, and these are the services he provided. You know, he provided expert advice on technology solutions. He assisted in identifying and implementing IT strategies aligned with the business goals. You know, this is one. He worked in NITDA. He worked in one company also, Zamani Global Solutions. And this is the responsibilities. One of them is he collaborate with cross-functional teams to develop solutions. And the other is he design codes, he test them, and of course he maintains software applications. Now, because he's applying for software engineering position or software developer position, also he will need to mention maybe 1 or 2 projects that he conducted, which like, is there any software that you have developed before? We want to give you a job as a software developer. So we want to see what type of softwares have you built before, so that we will trust you with our position. So this is, you can see that it's a project executed. So you could notice the difference now between this CV and the previous one. The details, they're a little bit, you know, different. So he mentioned project name 1, like he developed social software maybe that helps students, you know. The name of the software you mentioned, the description of the software, of course, you put, and URL in building the software. Maybe you co-establish the software, you know, you co-found with somebody. So you put it as a co-founder, this is what you did, and this is what the software is doing, the dates. Then another software, maybe not only one, maybe you have 3, 4, 5 projects. You mention all the projects, what is your role in the project, and the brief description of that particular project. So it's very important. And the technical strength. Now, you could see the technical strength of the previous guy. He mentions that he is like, he knows Python, he knows BASIC, and also he knows Mathematica, Excel. Yes, that's fine for someone who is not a computer science oriented student. But for someone from computer science background, you need to showcase like some deep, you know, insight of what you know. So this guy is proficient in Java, in Python, in C++. He is familiar with the JavaScript, and also in terms of web technologies, his experience, he has experience with HTML, CSS, and all this. So all the relevant experience, he mentioned them. So you too, when you come to your own, you should mention all the relevant experiences. You know, in terms of software development here, you could see this guy mentioned that he is a full stack. He knows this full stack development. He knows agile methodologies. He knows version control with GIT. So it means, you know, he has what it takes to get this job. There could be more to this, but this is just like a guide, you know, how you should think when you come to build this section. The academic achievements, similar to the other guy, this guy has many experiences, you know. But even one thing that maybe I forgot to add, in terms of the achievement, though this I mentioned only academic achievements, but if you are to put maybe awards/honors as a software developer, if there is any software maybe that you have developed before and you got some award maybe by, you know, solving a particular problem, it will help you in this regard. And this is, of course, the extracurricular activity, the certifications. You put all the certifications relevant to the CIT, the computer, you know. Because you are applying for computer, you need to show courses related to this computer stuff, CIT, information technology, machine learning, you know, Cisco, Oracle, you mentioned them. And this is just the community service, similar to the previous guy. And the referees. So in most cases, you put like the referees are available or request. And if they requested them explicitly, you can include your references. So you could notice now at the end that all these 2 samples contain only 2 pages, right? So that's what we meant when we said your CV should not exceed 2 pages as a starter. So I think this is the summary, or, you know, of the presentation, what I have for you today. But I believe maybe as I may skip 1 or 2 things. And Dr. Tariq is with me, Dr. Prof also, I think Dr. Jose is also with me. So please, in case I forget something or something, you know, has gone out of my side, please, you can come and share your experiences, and also from the questions that we would have from the participants, maybe some things will come up again. But my final, parting words is you should know that your CV is the interface between you and the recruiters. That's one. You should know that your CV is subject to update every day. So it's something that's dynamic. It's not static. And also you should know that your CV is just like you, by the way. It's like you present there, but in absentia. That's in summary. So that's the end of the presentation. And inshallah, I will share the files, the slides, and all this to the Arewa Mentorship Telegram page. I have shared already the link to the page in case you are not there. So you can join. And the samples of the CV too, I will share them there, inshallah. And we will upload this recording to the YouTube for future reference. Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that really thought-provoking talk. I think, as I said, I know definitely that we were going to learn a lot from that, and I myself have picked a number of tips from your talk. So, well, you can use the raise hand option for your questions. You could also use the chat box. But briefly, just kind of reiterating most of the things that you said, I think you've really done justice to the talk. You've covered all the kind of interesting, necessary things that people need to be aware of. So, kind of summary, I think a good slide for me to start would be from your do's and don'ts. You've talked about the need for us all to kind of quantify our achievement. Don't just say that you've done this, you've done that, but rather provide a kind of numbers. How many, for example, if you've supervised people, how many people have you supervised? How many team have you kind of worked with? How many improvement in kind of percentage have you brought for you as part of being lead in a particular project and things like that. We've talked about using relevant keywords, especially you've talked about the ATS system. So a number of times it's not people that kind of go through the CVs to sort out those that they want to call out for interview, but rather they have a kind of system in place which does that, and that system looks at the keywords. So it's very important to identify the necessary keywords. You've talked about the need for highlighting the soft skills, the need for it to be concise. You've already talked about over time what would happen because it's dynamic. Then everything that you do needs to go into the CV. So it's good that you keep track of all the things that you're doing. But then when you're writing a CV for a particular kind of role, whether it's scholarship, whether it's a job, then you need to identify only those kind of key skills that are applicable to that particular role which you're applying for. Proofread, of course, a lot of the time it's very difficult for us. Once you've written something, if you were to read it and 10 times, you might not see a kind of minor error. However, when you give it to someone to have a read at it, then they can easily see that kind of error. Choose a readable font. You've talked about need to make sure that it's consistent, and then it's also, as you've mentioned here, readable. Your headings, you have to make sure that it's clearly, you can clearly, define or see the difference between relevant sections within the CVs. And of course, it shouldn't be, you shouldn't use, or we all shouldn't use one CV for all purposes. Prof did mention that when she started. You've also reiterated that. And I think I could remember someone telling to me back in the days that, if someone can take your CV and take their name out and the main subheadings out and use that CV, then definitely you need to look at how you can kind of rework that CV, because this has to be specific. It has to be kind of bespoke, first of all, to you, and then to the job or to the opening that you're applying for. Kind of, you've talked about the need for using, appropriate, for example, names for emails. Don't just use weird kind of emails. Sometimes even the emails, I remember one of my emails, I have a zero at the end, and people get confused with that as being an O. So I think that's something that I've learned over the years as well. So, the CVs should be very much easy for everyone to kind of So for example, if you have applied for a job and then they need to get back in touch with you, then if you have a 0 instead of an O, sometimes it might get confused and things like that. Date of birth, not necessary, gender, marital status, family size, all those things that you've mentioned, which are not really necessary, unless, as you've mentioned, if you're applying for a role for the imam, and then definitely you need to mention that. But, under normal circumstances, if you're applying for a scholarship for physics, then you don't need to apply, you don't need to specify that you are the imam of your, things, kind of religious expertise. I think that's most of the things that, well, you've covered quite a lot, much more than that, but I think these are kind of key. I mean, that slide captures quite a lot. I'm not sure if Prof has any comments to make, or Fawzia have any comments to make, or any part of the members of the organizing committee, but I can see there's quite a number of people already have a number of questions. So I think we might just go into the Q&A session now. So we have a number of people already raising their hands. Mujahid, Nasser. So also, if you could be kind of clear, please, there's quite a number of people wanting to ask questions. I think it would be nice if you can keep your questions concise. Mujahid Nasser Hussein, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq, Dr. Yakubu Sani Wudil, and the remaining organizers. My name is Mujahid Nasser Hussein, and I'm a graduate of physiology from Bayero University, Kano. So my questions goes like this. One of the things I really find difficult in doing is to make my CV to be 2 pages, because actually, as Dr. Yakubu Sani Wudil has mentioned, the key sections, that is including the education, work experience, leadership skills, soft skills, and of course, achievement, conference, presentations, and publications are needed in a CV. So normally, I used to try my best to see that I wrote everything regarding those sections, but the problem is that my CV used to exceed 2 pages. It normally used to be 3 pages. So I don't know if there is an advice that I will be given regarding that. Is 3 pages not well enough, or I have to try to make it short to be 2 pages? And secondly, my other question is that regarding achievement or award, does that achievement means you need to receive a certificate for that, or like just stating that you have been awarded as the best student without giving you certificate will make it for you to write it in your CV that you have been the best student.
Okay, thank you for that. Doctor, you've had these, I think I don't have a pen with me now, I would have taken some notes. So I think what maybe we'll answer the questions as we go. So you've had these 2 questions. What are your response to that?
So he said, I didn't get the questions really quite clear. He said, like he had a 3-page CV, and how can he change it to 2?
Yes, so he's wondering what sort of advice do you have for him? He has at the moment about 3 pages. Does he has to cut it down to 2? If he has, then what sort of advice would you give to him? Or is he okay to use it, to kind of use a 3-page CV? That was the first question.
My advice with regards to that question would be, like I mentioned earlier, if he is just starting his career, for instance, he's just a fresh graduate, of course your CV have to, it has to expand as you grow. But if you are just like a fresh graduate, I think you should try as much as possible to make it 2-page. It's just a matter of formatting. If you can format it well, I think you can condense it to 2 pages. Just try to include only those things that are highly relevant to what you are applying. Maybe what you are doing is you have a general CV, kind of a CV that contains everything. So that's not what you need. You need to include only those things that are relevant, I think. So my advice is you try to make it 2-page as much as possible.
Thank you. That was the first one. The second question was more or less looking at in terms of achievement. So do you need to have a certificate to add that onto your CV, or if you don't have, then you can, as far as you've achieved something, but you don't have kind of proof for that, then you can still add it?
No, I think certificates, Dr. Tariq, do not have to be certificates. I mean, achievements do not have to be in form of certifications. If you are able to develop something like maybe a software, or you develop any solutions, or you organize any program, things like that, and perhaps it's part of your achievement, in my opinion. Or if you have any award, so it really doesn't have to be a certificate like that you have to present. This is because I don't think even anybody will ask you if you say like you are the best student in your department, like, okay, where is the certificate that shows you are the best student? So it doesn't have to be in form of a paper, certificate. Anything that you consider as achievement, and similar to what we have just shown on the examples, I think you can. Yes, enough.
Thank you for that.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so for the first case that he's looking for, maybe 3-page to 2-page, there are softwares out there that I think maybe you are using Word. When you are using Word, Microsoft Word, definitely maybe you end up having like 3 pages. But there are softwares out there that you see that in 1 page you end up having many sections that you can put all those information in, and you may even that 3 pages that you are even talking about, it may end up being 1 page. So there are a lot of CV builders out there that you can use that can make that. And of course, make sure is what you are putting are really relevant to the job. And then for achievement also, just like Dr. Yakubu said, anything you see as achievement, put it, as long as you're going to be able to defend it when you are doing your interview. It's during the interview that those things can come in. Just make sure you speak, you said you did this, you did that. That's the most important. Nobody will ask you where is the certificate or something. Okay.
Thank you for that, Doctor. I'll ask on Fatima Ahmed on mute. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question, Fatima?
Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fatima Ahmed. I think I should go straight to my question. The question is the section of publication on your CV. Looking at the type of projects we carry out during our undergraduate, some of the projects are just something that you copy from another person that has already worked on. So if the project is not published already, can you include it in your CV, or you don't have to include it?
So you
very much. But I think a better question before you respond to that, a better question should be, should you copy a previous project? I think that's a better question. The aim would be, the aim of the project is not just for people to copy. Yes, that's what people do, but is that ethically right? I think that's the first question that people need to start thinking about, really. Over to you, Doctor, please.
No, I think it's good that you have addressed that point. I was about to talk about it, actually. I think the fact that you said you copied, or maybe you got it from maybe some references, even though the other references that you copied from is not published, because you can put it as an experience, but you have not published it also. They have not published, maybe you got it from them, and you have also not published it, right? So, but still you can put it, if I understand very well what you are saying, in your undergraduate project, you work on a particular topic, but most of the work that you did, maybe you got it from another project, right? Of course, you cannot get it 100%, I believe. That's my belief. So if that is the case, then you can always include it as your own project in your CV, even though, we don't encourage you get from another project, but still, since at least you have modified it, and with the consent of your advisor, your supervisor, I think it's something that you can put, that this is the research you have conducted. The only thing is, what is the quality of the research that you have conducted? Maybe that may come up later. Okay, this has already been published, or maybe this is already in existence, the similarity index is high, things like that may come up. But if you are very sure, you are pretty sure that the similarity, index is not that very high, of course, you can include it, since you're only including the title. maybe the title of the project that you did, and you expect some questions to come up. Maybe you can be asked 1 or 2 questions about the methodologies, about the hypothesis, you know. So if you will be able to defend it, then you can include it.
Thank you for that. Right, Ahmed, or maybe Hashim Wazir, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alex,
thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank
Salam,
you so much. We really appreciate your effort for taking your time to impart this great knowledge to us. My question is that based on the CB displayed on the screen previous hours or time, for my own case, I started my SSC in 2013 and graduated in 2015 and did some diplomas before I received my paper in 2021. I'm now at university. If I am now decide to write my CV, which of the year am I going to write as my graduation year for secondary school? Because if I said I graduated in 2015, that result, I'm not using it now because I didn't get the required credit. If I said I graduated in 2021, the school I graduated in, I just received paper there, but I am not actually the student of, I didn't start from SS1 or JSS1 there. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Doc, do you want to respond to that?
I think, Doctor, I think this is a very good question, really. That you graduated, right, in 2013. You went for diploma and all this. You went to university, right? But later, you sat for the exam again, right? Just to get the required credits. Is that the question, Dr. Tariq?
Yes.
Okay. So in that situation, I think the second school that you attended to get the required credits is not your school. You are only there. It's like a private WAEC or private NEOCOS, even though it's not private, the exam that you wrote, but you will take it as such because your records, right? All your records of education, if one is to go to a secondary school and investigate whether you attended secondary school or not, will be traced back to the first one that you attended. So I think in that situation, my advice, of course, will not be final, and I will seek for the opinion also of my colleagues here to intervene. But in my opinion, I think you should include the first one, and at the same time, perhaps you may include the second one, where you get the new certificates. Because when you say you graduated from the first one, where is your results will be required. So maybe, of course, you will include both, in my opinion. You will not just ignore anyone. But Dr. Tariq, what do you think about this situation?
Well, I think for me, I think I'll be tempted towards, yes, of course, you have the experience of being in that kind of institution or kind of secondary school. But given that your certificate is kind of not from the school, then you can put in. So for example, you can, the thing is with, as you progress, so for example, in my CV now, I don't have my secondary school. Of course, as you progress, kind of the secondary, primary, I think that would go. But then initially, I think now you can put in your experiences in those secondary school. And then you also need to add in where you get so similar to what you've just mentioned, Dr. Yakubu. So you've got, whether it's JS1 to SS2 or SS3 in that first kind of secondary school, and then also add in the year that you've got your qualification in the secondary school.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Try to include both, right? You should include both in the CV.
Yeah.
With the years, because it's normal. People used to rewrite their exams, but that doesn't mean the secondary school they attended originally, it will no longer appear in their CV.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I will go with the one I have the certificate with, because nobody cares. At the end of the day, they will ask you to submit certificate. So to me, I would just go with where I have my certificate.
No,
like Dr. Tariq said.
This is
like Dr. Tariq said.
Now that we are in political dispensation, if he's into politics and someone wishes to go back to secondary school, they will first of all start asking, where are your colleagues in this secondary school that you assume you said you attended? Who are your colleagues? Just mention your classmates. Who are they? You get the point? So
that's for
not fall into trap.
I'm talking about job. I'm talking about job. If it's
Oh,
for
okay.
job, nobody, they
Okay,
just want your
then.
certificate or scholarship.
Okay.
Let's hear from Dr. Let's hear from Dr. Fauzia.
Fauzia, go ahead.
Dr. Fauzia, please go ahead. Can you finish
Go ahead,
your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can.
Yeah, what I'm saying, as long as it's job and scholarship, I'll just go for certificate, because that will raise a question. Why did you do this and you are getting a certificate in another school? So it's better if it's scholarship and job, just put where you have the certificate, because they will require just the certificate at the end of the day when you get the job. So, but when we are talking about politics and all those things, of course, CV is dynamic. You have that other one, you can submit those other ones so that they cannot come for you. Yeah, but if you are looking anything that will raise a question of okay, during your interview, why did this happen?
Yes.
And
Yes.
So just try to avoid that. Where you have your certificate, just put it there.
Yeah, this is very valid. This is valid. Maybe like this is where the tailoring comes, Dr. Tariq. This is where he needs to be like smart. He has to tailor his CV for the particular purpose.
As we keep mentioning, obviously, I think a good thing would be to have a general CV where you put in a record, not just a CV, but a record of all the things that you've been doing. But then depending on the job or the opening, then you kind of pick some details, some information from, because as you said, over time, you tend to forget some of the things that you do. But if you have a record of everything that you do, you just kind of dump it into that. Then over time, you can, a lot of time now, most of these are kind of automated. You can have a kind of, I know there's a career path or something like that where you can just be putting in all this kind of maybe conferences, journal publications and things like that. And then you can kind of extract from that depending on the opening to make sure it's tailored, it's specific, it's bespoke for that particular application.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you both for that response. Zainab N, you would note that I'm kind of skipping some. We don't usually have quite a lot of ladies. Zainab N, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Alaikum salam.
Yes, I didn't join from the beginning of the webinar, so I don't know if it was covered, but I wanted to ask, is a general CV different from a CV you use when applying for, let's say, masters?
What do you mean by a general CV?
Like, maybe if a CV that I'm going to apply for a job with, how is it different from an academic CV, like a CV I'm submitting for my master's application?
Right, okay. Dr. Yakubu, do you want to reiterate of some of the things that you've already mentioned? Thank you.
I think we mentioned it, like she said, she was not there from the beginning, but in summary, the CV that you will use for job, of course, will be a bit different from the CV that you will use for scholarship. So when we share the samples, we have 2 samples that we will share. There are many other samples, of course, we may share them, but sometimes when you share too many resources, you'll find that people are fed up and may not really. So we'll share only these 2 for now. Maybe later we'll share more. We'll share these 2 samples with the slide presentation. I believe when you look at the 2 samples, you will understand the differences between the 2.
Thank you. Ahmed Yakubu, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Hello, my name is Ahmed Yakubu, computer science graduate from Umaru Musa Yar'Adua University, Kasana. So I actually have 3 questions to ask. My first question is, what are the expected questions during scholarship interview? The question that we should expect. And secondly, is there any smart way to doubt a question that you don't know during the interview? And thirdly, is there any personal advice that you can give us so that it should be noted right now from before applying the scholarship?
Right. Thank you very much. It seems like most of your questions are out of scope. You've asked about interview. Our focus today is on CV. I'm not sure if Dr. Yakubu wants to respond to that. Given that all the questions, the third one probably could maybe when you talk about methods, probably one of the best thing is to make sure that your TV is tailored for that particular application. But in terms of interview, do you want to respond to that, or should we skip that, given that it's out of scope?
I think I will advise him to watch like the session that we did on, since we talked about that before, try to watch, it's already on our YouTube page, where we talk about scholarships and how to answer interview questions. But just to in summary, what you asked is if like you don't know a question and you are asked, right? And you also the specific questions you should expect. So in summary, the specific questions you should expect is why you are applying to that institution, what you want to bring to that institution, like what type of research, what's your previous experience in terms of the research. Then if you mention your previous experience, 1 or 2 questions may come up. Since you mentioned about the previous experience, they will ask you 1 or 2 things to make sure that you know it. This is the summary, but I will advise you for the detailed presentation to watch the past session where we talk about the scholarship.
Thank you. Mubarak Adam Sabo, can you unmute yourself and ask your questions? It would be wonderful if you could ask questions specific to the talk today, please. Right, Mubarak, are you able to unmute yourself or not?
Mubarak Adam.
Mubarak Adam Sabo, can you hear us? Maybe a technical issue. Yeah. What about Abdul Razak? Abdul Razak, are you able to unmute yourself to ask your question? If not, we'll move on to Buhari. Buhari, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Yes, I'm unmuted, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Good day, everyone, and thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation. Well, my own is, the first one is more like, more or less, not like a question. I want to mention that actually I'm not in the academia currently. My work experience has been with Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. I'm an investigator with them. So how can I tailor my CV to apply for the scholarship? Secondly, you haven't mentioned the reference section, and I want to ask it, although you haven't talked about it, that I used to get bored, like when applying for scholarship, to include my lecturer's name, their professional email, but I don't want to get them bored with disturbance of multiple applications. So is it proper for me to put in my Gmail, email of my friends, their Gmail account? That's what I usually do.
Thank you.
And then the last one is like a suggestion. Please, you should drop the format for us, that CV, that you use as a sample for us.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Buhari. Doctor, you have had 3 comments. What are your response to that?
So Buhari is an investigator with the EFCC, and he's thinking of applying for scholarship, right?
That's correct.
What is his field of study?
He hasn't mentioned that. Buhari, can you hear us?
Computer science, sir. And I've worked with several sections of EFCC, cybercrime section, bank fraud, and some others. Thank you.
Okay, so I think your answer is already out. You are a computer scientist and you study these cyber issues. So you have a very good way of tailoring your CV to show that you have experience in this issue of cyber stuff, forensics, you know. So you can be able to tailor your CV in that direction. And I think there is no reason why you will not succeed. Just try to write a very good statement of purpose, SOP, that will support your CV.
It's more or less quantifying. Sorry, I think it's more or less quantifying. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Tariq. Okay, Dr. Tariq, what are you saying?
Go ahead.
Yes, what I was just trying just to add on to what you've said, it's more or less kind of quantifying from those experiences. What sort of kind of task have you completed over the span of your whether it's, I don't know how long you've been working there, but it's more or less kind of clearly specifying what you've been doing and then quantifying that. So that was the first part. The second part was more or less on the references. Yes, I think we haven't mentioned on that. And he said what he's been adding his kind of lecturers, but he feels he doesn't want to keep having them receiving quite a number of emails from universities. So he's wondering whether he should add emails of his friends, Gmail, Yahoo Mail of his friends. That way they can easily respond to those kind of reference requests, I guess.
I think with regards to the issue of reference, it's always better to use professional references. So what you will do is try to have as many like your former lecturers as possible, not just 2 or 3. If you have like 7, 6, 8, maybe 10, something like that. So this time around, you can try this particular set, while some other time you try. And I think the lecturers will understand because that is their function. That's their primary role. They have to support their students, So you have to, use the professional emails of your lecturers. I think most of the references that you will send by Gmail or Yahoo Mail, in most of the times, I know people will not take them seriously. So I think it's better you use professional references.
Just to add on to that as well, over time, what would happen is, one of the benefits of keeping network is for most of these references. If you've been taught by someone in your second year of undergraduate and then you haven't gotten in touch with him after 5 years, and then all of a sudden you want him to do a reference for you, he might even forgotten about you because he's been, lecturing quite a number of other people. But if you're on LinkedIn, for example, and he's on LinkedIn and you're, connected, and then he make a post, you make a comment, you keep that kind of contact. That way, yes, he's kind of aware, he's like, he's still know you in a way. And then whenever you make that request, then it's very much easier for him to remember, oh, this person, I've taught him, this, and then, it's much, much easier. Rather than just to cut that kind of contact and then all of a sudden after a number of years, oh, sir, please, could you do this reference for me? Then, and then of course, what you need to remember, I know Prof might have a comment on that because she did mention this some time ago, then, sometimes they have overwhelming numbers of kind of requests, and especially when there's a kind of a certain session, for example, KingFAD is opening its, a scholarship application, and then you see at the same single time 10 students requesting for a reference when you have other things to do. So try and maintain that contact. I think that would be the kind of suggestion that I would have. And definitely don't put your friends unless if they're requiring for kind of, there are different level of references. So as far as for professional reference, definitely don't put your friend's Gmail account.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's very important, Dr. Tariq, that you have highlighted. He should build a network. And even while in school, you should build a good relationship, positive relationships with your colleagues and even your lecturers, because these relationships will manifest later when you need them. This is the time that you need them. So you need to have a very good, cordial relationship with your professors, with, your lecturers, so that when the need arises, they will help.
Thank you. Khadija Adam Rogo, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. My question is regarding the link that Prof said to share with the first 100 people will get the first 100 people will get their CV reviewed. And my second question is that I studied biochemistry and I have many certifications regarding entrepreneurship. Should that be included under skills or experience? I don't understand. Can you elaborate?
Right. Okay.
So,
thank you.
The first question is with regards to the link. We said we will share, right, for the 100 CVs, right?
Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right.
Yes. So inshallah, at the end of this session, when we are leaving, I will put the link. So just copy the link. Copy the link to the Google form so you can upload your CV. Try to upload it as soon as possible when it's ready. maybe by today or tomorrow maximum. At least since I think the participants number now is a bit low, so most likely the number will not. I think I will not put the link anywhere else apart from this platform, so that the requests will not be, overwhelming.
Yes, the second question was in terms of expertise. If her expertise is not specific to her kind of qualification, can she still add that? Or maybe if her experience, she has a lot of experience, not related to her qualification. So can she still add that onto her CV?
So let's be clear. What is her qualification?
Is it biochemistry, you said?
Yes,
biochemistry. Okay. And what experience do you have?
Entrepreneurship, skills and certification.
Okay, and skill acquisition, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, now it's clear. Then what opportunity are you looking for?
For example, when I'm looking for a job or scholarship.
Okay, so this is it. If you are looking for scholarship, so it will be basically more of your academic repute that will help you, right? If you are looking for scholarship, then you have to tailor your CV to your academic background. So it is your qualification, that you should put more of. And if you are applying maybe for a job or something in industry, or in organizations, that's where your experience more will help you. So I think that's my advice. You have to know where you are looking for, where you are going. Then you can match your experience with the to your CV. That will be my input. But Dr. Tariq, you can add.
Yes, I think it just depends on it depends on what exactly the scholarship she's aiming for. If the scholarship is specifically on entrepreneurship, on skills acquisition and things like that, then obviously all that experiences will also matter, because I think a number of countries now are not just focused on and we've been talking about this, not just on the qualification, but on the skills. So, as far as it's relevant, then definitely you need to clearly specify that. That would be useful for that particular application. It's all about telling the stories that, what sort of experience do you have pertaining to that role or pertaining to that opening. Right. I think we're running out of time. We've got about 9 minutes. We'll pick a few more. I can see there's quite a number of other people wanting to ask questions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to give you the opportunity at this moment. However, I think we can continue discussion in most of our platforms, whether it's Telegram or WhatsApp, what have you. But we'll ask a few more. Ismail Ahmed Isa, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please? Ismail Ahmed Isa.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ismail Ahmed Isa, a graduate of agriculture from Federal University, Dusi. I have 3 questions with me. The first question is part of the don'ts that Professor mentioned in crafting a winning CV. He made mention of affiliation to religious activities and political activities. So, like for someone like me, as a case study, I did my service and my PPA is under MCAN, that's Muslim Corpus Association of Nigeria. So I served there. That's my PPA. I was the state secretary general. So in writing my CV, I normally include this as part of my experience, 1 year experience during my service. So I don't know if there's any problem with that. And then secondly, in writing a CV, I want to know if it is a must to impute the reference section in the CV, or it's not a must. And then thirdly, is about the certificate too. When inserting the certificate section, all the online courses, like one take to improve his chances of getting a scholarship, can that be included? Even the certificate that are not part of his course, I don't know if they are okay, or you will just pick those that are part of your, or in line with your course of study, and then insert them in the CV. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Doc, you've had these 3 questions.
Yes,
what are your
starting with the last one, always include only the certificates relevant to the opportunity or scholarship you are applying for. The first one, I think you're talking about, you did serve in MCAN, and you feel, we said you should not include religious affiliations. I think that may not be considered as, it's an official engagement, so it's fine, you can include it. Maybe you worked there, you did some work there and you had some experience. Of course, you can, it's not that everything, like, in fact, some of the universities, and their name starts with Islam, maybe some Islamic university of this. So if you attended that university, we will not say you should not include your certificate, you know, because your university starts from Islamic university of this. What we are saying is, for instance, someone may say, okay, while like he was as a student in the university, he was the maybe chief imam of his mosque, something like that. You get the point? You should not really stress on that, except if you are applying for a position that is related to that, you know. But if you're applying for scholarship or some job in corporate organizations, you don't have to include that. So of course you can go ahead and include your experience. So please, whatever we say here, you should take it and apply your common sense, you know. It's not like we are saying something rigid, you know. You have to use your common sense and know when to use and when not to use it. You know, many things are subjective. So that's why you need your own intellect in many occasions to filter what you need to apply and what you need not to apply.
The third question was on references.
References, generally people used to put the section and just indicate that the reference is available or request. Like if they need it, they should ask. Or if they explicitly requested for it prior to the application, then you can include it, the name of the reference, just the name, an email, maybe an affiliations, some with mobile numbers. So that's it. Maybe 3 people generally, 2 to 3.
Yes, and I think that available on request also saves space for, I think the question that we had previously, when you have 3 pages and you want to squeeze it into 2, you can just add in available on request. And unless it's, as you've mentioned, specifically requested for. Okay, I think we'll take the last question. Hussein Nuhu, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, Hussein Nuhu?
Assalamu alaikum and good day, everyone.
Good day.
Please, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
My name is Hussein Nuhu, and I have a Bachelor of Engineering, Chemical Engineering. I also have a Master's in Defense field. Please, I have a question regarding the tailoring of the CV. Sorry, I also have a 5 years experience as a process engineer. But recently I was recommended by my friend in the US on a position of immunoengineering graduate position. And I was also interviewed by the supervisor. But now regarding the tailoring, how do I tailor my CV in that regard? Because for the past 5 years, I've been a process engineer. And the supervisor, so he get back to me to if I've been selected for the application. So I don't know now how to, what is your advice on the tailoring of the CV in that regard? Then secondly, regarding publication, I did my MSc project, but I haven't published yet. So I don't know what is my chances or what are my chances in other scholarship applications, even though it's somehow not related to the question of the day. Then thirdly, this is also not related, but I also would like to share to know.
Right. Given that we're running out of time, I think we'll be able to answer these 2 questions, unfortunately. The first question was more or less, he's already been interviewed, and he's wondering how he can tailor his CV. I think this has been covered, but again, I'll leave you to respond to that, Dr. Yakubu.
Yeah, then what is the second question again? The second one?
The second question was publication. Again, it's a little bit out of scope. He hasn't published his master's project, but what sort of advice do you have, for him to be able to publish his master's project?
So the advice I will have for you, I think, is to try to publish it as soon as possible. That's one. If you publish it, still you can send the title, you know, and even if you just submit it, you can always put it in your CV if you like, and indicate as a, like in a parenthesis, submitted, kind of. So try to just round it off and submit, then you can indicate that the paper has been submitted. That's one. The second one, with regards to how you can tailor the CV, I think this is what we have been saying. Just try as much as possible to, you know, include all those skills that are required in that particular position. You know, like what type of work will you do there? They interviewed you already, so you know what are the requirements. So just put those things in your CV, the experiences that they expect you to put. Since you already did masters and you even at the verge of making publication, so you know your work experience and your skills, experimental or computationals, you know. So try to just highlight on those things in your CV and use these samples that we are providing. And of course, it will be fine, inshallah. And let me not forget, I will share this this form with you on the chat box, so you can copy, where you will just fill and submit. When you completed your CV, just fill it and submit. Inshallah, we'll select the first ones to come, and then we'll send it to the reviewers. They will review it and get back to you as we promised, inshallah. So this is the form for everyone. And this presentation slides and everything will be posted on the Arewa Mentorship Telegram page as usual.
Thank you very much, Doc. So I think I'll just use this opportunity to first of all thank Prof. Unfortunately, Prof had an unstable network, so she had to leave early. We really glad for her to be able to be with us today, and she's been here with us right from the start of AYMP. She's been, as I've mentioned earlier, supervising. She's been mentoring. She's been providing full support for the mentorship sessions that we've been organizing. So we really appreciate her for that. And of course, to Dr. Yakubu, who's again been the coordinator of AYMP, he's spent time, put in quite a lot of effort in terms of time, money, and all the efforts just to make sure that the programs keep running. So we really appreciate you. Really appreciate you for sparing time to give us the talk today. To other members of the organizing committee who's been supporting behind the scenes, we really appreciate it. And of course, to the for you all the participants today, you've been a wonderful, you've been really wonderful today and over the years as well. This brings us to the end of the year session, and then hopefully we'll hear from you, or you will hear from us. We have a number of interesting sessions, in the pipeline for the coming year, inshallah. Again, I do apologize for those of you that want to ask questions. I can see there are a number of hands raised. We will officially end the meeting soon, but I guess you can stay behind and ask some of your questions. Thank you very much, and do have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
You can also be part of it as a mentor or student. Join the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program on Telegram, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. AYMP, together we can be great.